Right, okay, right. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to cover a few bits on food for when you're out on your expedition. Okay, now if you're on a bronze, which most of you would probably be starting off on, you've got to prepare at least one hot meal on your expedition. Okay, now that normally means your evening meal because you're only out over one night. Okay, but you need to be cooking at least one meal. So you've got to think of stuff that you can cook and something that you're going to enjoy to eat between you as a group. Okay, you're going to have 2 stoves, so you can possibly cook 2 separate meals if people have got different preferences to others or different dietary requirements. So you can keep them separate on 2 stoves, but you've got to think about we've got the downloads on this training and on our web page for your menu planners, so you can plan out all your menus in advance and know what you're going to have. The key is obviously keeping the weight down. Okay, so you're going to have all of this packed on your rucksacks in your back, so you want to keep the weight to a minimum. If you've got something that's full of water, it's going to weigh more than something that's dehydrated, that needs rehydrating. Okay, so you've got to start to think of your menu choices. So we're going to run through some breakfast choices, some lunch choices, some dinner choices, and then sort of your snacks. Okay, so what we have over here is going on to the breakfast stuff. First of all, we'll start at breakfast. Is you've got to think of these foods that are going to be energy efficient. All right, so you want these things that are going to give you best bang for your buck effectively, which is going to give you the most calorific return and is not going to weigh too much. Okay, so one of the favourites of DofE is these chocolate filled crepes. Okay, these are like sort of Nutella type filled things. They pack down really small. They don't have to be kept in the fridge, which is a bonus, and you can pack them all down and get them into like loads of little gaps. They're okay, they're good for breakfast, but you can't just have these all weekend. I've seen some people just bring bags and bags of these, so you need to keep that variation. You're going to want some sweet stuff and you're going to want some savoury as well. Okay, so they're really good for breakfast. Porridge oats are really good for breakfast, but there's various ways of bringing your porridge. Okay, lots of people bring these porridge pots. Okay, so they come already in with the oats in, they come with the powdered milk in. You fill them up to a point with hot water, and they're really good and tasty. But the problem is when you got them in these pots, and it happens more regular than you think, people squash them down into their rucksacks, they burst, and your rucksack's full of oats and powdered milk, which then if you get some moisture in your rucksack, you're going to end up with congealed milk all in your rucksack. So we really advise against having these porridge pots. A much better version is to have the sachets. Okay, you still got the same amount of oats and stuff in there. They're a lot smaller and they pack down a lot easier, and look at the difference in size. When you're trying to fit everything into your rucksack, these are so much more practical. Okay, and they're not going to burst as easy and go all over your rucksack. So porridge is a really good thing, as they are. Any of you wanting to bring sort of stuff to cook for breakfast, like if you wanted to do a cooked breakfast like bacon sandwiches or something like that, you can bring things like bacon, but we advise, especially as you're going to be doing your expeditions when in the warmer months, it's a good idea to get one of these sort of really flat pack packets, freeze it, take it out of the freezer in the morning, and then bring it along frozen. That will thaw out throughout the day. Even if it's quite warm, that will stay cold for most of the day, so it should be safe enough to eat. You don't want to be bringing things like raw chicken and things like that, okay, because they're just going to, if it's a hot day, it's going to not be too healthy to cook chicken when it's been warm all day. Okay, we obviously then also have things like fruit, which are great. You know, you've got to bring your fruit along. Harder fruits are normally better, to bring an apple or a couple of apples along. Bananas, as much as they're good for energy, they squash really easy, so you've got to be very careful where you're going to pack certain things like that. If you put them low down in your rucksack, bananas squash and bruise really easy and you'll probably end up throwing them away. But apples are a lot harder and a lot better. We also have things like honey, so you can have things like honey, which is really good sort of energy boosts, and then you have golden syrup as well. These are all good sort of versatile things that you can add with other foods. You've also got things that you can have like trail mix, which you can add to things, which is sort of seeds, nuts and berries. They're all good. They've got different sort of all the different goodness in them, sort of proteins and stuff. And then we also have oat cakes. Oat cakes are really, really good when you're out walking and you're using energy up, because they're oats, the same as the porridge. It's slow release energy. So as you eat a few oat cakes, it's not just an instant hit like if you had some sweets. It's going to sort of slowly release that energy and help you sustain your energy for longer while you're out walking. So oat cakes are really, really good. I always take them when I'm out walking. Now, if you're allowed to have peanuts, it depends on the school. Some schools are peanut free, I know, but if you're allowed to have peanuts, peanut butter is really, really good sort of energy filled food. Some people even mix peanut butter in with golden syrup, and that is just, you can't really get much more energy in something than mixing them two together. If you were sort of slowly moving into the lunch now, so if you're going to bring lunch along, it's all well and good sort of going and buying a meal deal or something like that, but sandwiches are quite big, bulky, they can get squashed quite easy, and you know, they've been on the shelf in the supermarket for quite a while, so it depends how long and how warm the weather is on whether a meal deal sandwich is worth it, especially if it's got mayonnaise and things like that in as well. So really good things for lunch are sort of wraps, like tortilla wraps, because you can wrap them up, load them up with your favourite fillings, roll them up and put them into some foil and pack them down in your bag, ready to grab while you're out and about. If you're not really into wraps, you've got pittas. So pittas are the same as well. They're very sort of low and flat. You can cut them, fill them with all your favourite fillings, and they're not going to get squashed as much as the sandwiches. Okay. On this, if you want to use cheese, one of the things we really a lot of people bring cheese on expedition. The grated cheese come in the packs. Again, they can split and go all over the place. They also dry out. If you bring a big lump of cheese, you've got to keep it wrapped up. These little sort of packets of individual cheeses that you get in the nets are really, really good on expedition, because you can just open each one up as you like. The others stay sealed, and they're really a really good thing to have when out on expedition, and they'll last you through a bronze expedition as well. You also got other things like these sort of tuna pots. These have got lots of energy in them, you know, lots of goodness in them, and especially for the first day walking, they're quite good. And then when you've finished, you've just got to put a very small amount of packaging into your rubbish bag until you get to campsite. Okay. You've also got things that you can use like tins of fish. So we've got sardines here, or you can use tuna. You could bring a tin of these, like a tin of tuna, and you can make up your wraps on your lunch break rather than bringing them all ready made up. That way, you know, your tuna or your sardines or whatever is staying nice and fresh because it's inside the sealed tin. Again, you've just got to sort of rinse it out a little bit, put it in your rubbish bag, and wait until you can drop it off at campsite. One thing we don't want to see, and I'll touch on it again in a bit because I'm going to remind you a lot about this, is you do have things like this, which are good foods for when you're out and about, so like sort of fish pastes and stuff, but this is in a glass jar. Okay, so we say absolutely no to bringing any glass along on expedition with your food, okay, or your drinks. The reason is, if this breaks in your rucksack and you don't realise, you put your hand in your rucksack, there's all broken glass in there, you're going to be off to hospital. Okay, and we don't want that. Okay, the glass can go in all sorts of places when you shove your hand down there. So we say no glass when we're out on expedition. Plus, also, another thing is glass is just, it weighs a lot as well. So you're bringing weight you don't need to bring. Another little thing here, which sort of is good for, I would say, sort of breakfast and lunch, sort of a bit of a crossover, and as snacks as well, are these kind of Belfita bars. All right, they've got lots of energy in them. They're great little things just to keep handy for snacking on as well. But you can also have these, like once you've had a wrap or something, they make a good sort of sweet thing to have after you've had your wrap. And they've got lots of energy in them as well. And they're only light as well. There's 5 packets in there and they don't weigh much at all. So these are the sort of things you want to think of for lunch, but it's stuff that is sort of not going to go off too much, okay? Now we're going to have a quick look at dinners, okay? So there's loads and loads of choices for dinners. I'm going to cover a few things that we don't want you to bring first of all. Okay. One of the main ones is what a lot of people like, and as much as you all like them, pot noodles. Okay, they are handy, they're easy, you've just got to pour some hot water in. The problem is, again, the same as with the porridge pots, they burst. Okay, we get lots and lots of these burst. Now if you've brought these for your dinner and they've all burst and gone all over your rucksack, basically you haven't got no dinner. Okay, so, and they take up a lot of room as well in your rucksack. Imagine bringing 1 or 2 of them, how much room that takes in your rucksack. And then if they burst, you've got no dinner left. So we really want you to avoid pot noodles. It's a lot better to bring something along like super noodles. Okay, at least you can cook them up in your stove. They're really flat packed. They're not going to break as easy as a pot. Similar to exactly the same as a porridge, but with a noodle sort of side. So super noodles are a lot more practical. Okay, and a lot smaller as well. And again, we're touching on, a lot of people do pastas for dinner. But again, this is the glass jar. We don't want to see glass jars, okay? These will break, okay? When they break, they're not only going to make a mess, they can really injure you, okay? So completely avoiding the glass. You can get, as replacement to a lot of the glass things, you can get sachets, okay? So these, like these Dolmio ones here, you get loads of different ones, tomato and basil pasta sauce in a sachet. That's going to be a lot safer and a lot easier to pack down, and a hell of a lot lighter as well. Okay, and when you've finished, you've only got a small bit of packaging to carry or to put in the rubbish. Okay, so the sachets are a lot better. The same goes for potatoes. If any of you want to bring potatoes, you know, we've had people bring sort of tins of potatoes along and think, oh, that's great, we'll have some potatoes. It's nice to have potatoes, but again, these tins, there's not loads in there for a group to eat, and they're really, really heavy. Okay. Whereas you could bring something like instant mashed potato, and the difference in weight of them is huge, and you've got a lot more potato in there. You've got to remember, you'll have water on the campsite, okay, and we'll give you water on as you're out and about at checkpoints. So you don't need to bring everything that's got water in there. You can bring all these dehydrated foods. And then you can just add water, so you're cutting down on all that weight. Again, with soups, there's a lot of people who bring soup. So you've got, you know, a standard tin of soup there, which is really sort of nice and quite easy to cook, but you've got to carry it. It's all of that weight, whereas you can get exactly the same from that. Okay, so just think of the difference in packing that to packing that, or carrying that to carrying that. Makes a massive difference when you're out walking. Okay, so soups are really good, but you're better off to bring like cuppa soups and sachets. So we'll touch on some of the meals now. We're just going to touch briefly on some of the meals. If you do want to have meat, we touched a little bit on the freezing the bacon, etc. earlier on, but really good things to bring are cured meats. If you want to have some meat in your pasta or whatever you're having, or in your rice. So you've got like here some salami and a chorizo. This doesn't need to be kept in the fridge, so you can have this for a long time and it's still going to be safe to eat. So you can just chop this up, add it to your meals, and you've got your proteins there, and you haven't got the risk of like it being raw chicken and not cooked properly or getting too warm. So cured meats are really good. Then we're going to move on to some noodles. So I know we touched on the super noodles there, but you also get like these types of noodles, which are really good. They're great for like group cooking, and then again you can buy the sachets with the lovely sauces, and they really make a nice tasty meal for the evening times. One of my favourites for when you're out on expedition is the tortelloni. Okay, so this one's spinach and ricotta. You can get ones with meat in, you can get ones without meat in. They're brilliant for out on expedition. They're the little parcels of pasta with the meal effectively inside the pasta, so they don't go off too easy. They're very light, and you can just add, you can bring a sauce along. You can either bring a sachet of sauce or one of these pots along. Again, the sachets is going to be better, but these are the proper pasta sauce ones, and you add them with them, you've got a really good meal, especially if you add maybe some extra cheese to it and stuff like that as well. You've got a really good balanced meal in a light pack there. Then we've got things like rices as well, so you can bring these packs of rices. Okay, you don't need to bring, if you're bringing rice, I wouldn't bring a big bag of rice like that. So there's a lot of rice in one of them standard rice bags. So the sachets are a lot better. Also, if the big bag breaks, you've got rice everywhere. Whereas you can have one of these sort of the Tilda types, or you've got the super rice ones. They cook really quick, they're really flavoursome, and packed down small. So really good sort of balanced dinner there. Then we go on to the standard, the pasta, which everyone loves on DofE. Most people bring pasta. This will be more than enough for a group here, okay? For a group's pasta almost, for an average size group. You can weigh it out yourself, work out how much you need, but you're not really going to need to bring bags bigger than this for pasta. Unless you're cooking more than one meal. If you wanted to cook maybe tomorrow's lunch, you might need some more for the whole group. But you don't want to bring loads and loads of pasta. There's plenty of carbohydrate in there for you. And then you can just add your pasta sauces and stuff to that, whatever you want to add. Okay, so that's just sort of covered some ideas for dinner. And then just a few little bits on snacks. So what we want to cover on snacks is you're going to need some sweet stuff, but you're also going to need some savoury. It all sounds good bringing loads and loads of sweets. Sweets are really good when you need an energy boost, and for that you can't beat things like jelly babies, them sorts of things that you can have in your rucksack ready, and you can all have a few sweets when you're feeling a bit tired. We recommend you don't eat all your sweets on the first day or within the first 2 hours, because you don't need them at the beginning. You need them near the end. On the second day is really when you're going to need your sweets. The good thing, it's good to have sugar and it does give you that boost, but when you're having sugar for a couple of days, what you're going to realise is you fancy some savoury probably. So it's probably a good idea to bring some salty snacks along as well. So we've got things like here, like the little bags of mini cheddars and stuff like that. So them sorts of things are quite good, because you're going to get a bit fed up with sweet things after a while. Then we have things like chocolate. So these chocolate buttons, well, a lot of people bring like chocolate buttons along and stuff. Now, chocolate buttons are okay and they're really good and they're sort of nice to eat, but if it's really hot, these are going to end up just a big squelchy lump of melted chocolate in the bag, and you're not really going to be able to eat them. So you really need to sort of think ahead and see what the weather's going to be like on your training or your expedition. If it's not going to be too hot, you can probably get away with it. If it's kind of edging on a heat wave, chocolate's a real sort of waste of time really. You're better off sticking with your sweets. Okay, and then we've got the favourite biscuits. All right, biscuits are great. They're not going to go off too easy. They're full of energy. Ones like these hobnobs as well, they've got oats and stuff in them as well, so you're going to have the slow released energy again. Really good things. You notice I've got here, I haven't got the chocolate hobnobs though. These are just the plain ones, again because we don't want them all melting and sticking together. Just going to go with hobnobs or whatever your favourite biscuit is, but biscuits are a really good snack on. And one last thing we just want to point out on the drinks, from the side of drinks, is that a lot of people like a hot chocolate on expedition. I wouldn't bring one of the cardboard packs of hot chocolate. You're much better off getting loads of these little sachets. Again, you can pack them all down, they're really light, one portion in a pack, so as you're doing it you're getting rid of the packaging and reducing your weight as you're using stuff as well. Okay, so the little sachets of instant ones are good because they already have the milk powder in, and they're a really good thing to have around the campfire at night time or after you've had your dinner, having a hot chocolate. Now, one thing just to bear in mind is when you've had all this food, when you've cooked it all, you've got to wash up, okay? So you're going to need to bring a little bit of washing up liquid with you, maybe in a little pot between you as a group, and you're going to need some of these scourers. Don't forget these scourers, yeah? Because you're going to be having trouble cleaning up your stoves if you haven't got any scourers. All right, so you bring them and a tea towel along to make sure after you've done all your lovely dishes that you can wash up the pots and pans and bring them back nice and clean. Okay, so that's just a brief run through of our DofE expedition food.